What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It is Wednesday, December 10th. We're looking ahead to week 15 of the NFL season. Week 14, 4-4 for me. Just juiced out, break even, whatever you want to call it. Had a bunch of spots that I liked. Green Bay was the good one that came through. The Bengals, I had +6. Somehow they cover. Somehow they lose. They should have won that game outright. Somehow they lose, but they covered. Daniel Jones goes down. That killed my Colts bet. I had the Colts. Cardinals, terrible bet. I lost a teaser on the stupid Ravens. The Chiefs cost me a parlay. I mean, Ravens, Chiefs, you think just win. Both big favorites. Can you just win at home? Neither can win at home. We did hit the under on Monday Night Football, but yeah, overall a break-even week, down some juice. For the season now, took some time to update my sheet because I was pretty behind on it. But for the season now, 51-42, 55%, up 15.47 units, so 15 and a half units. So the last 2 weeks, we juiced out this week. The week before that, we lost in week 13. We were up over 20 units, but the last 2 weeks have brought us down to 15 and a half. But we're in a great spot. We just weathered the storm. Injury luck went against us. Turnover luck went against us the last couple weeks. Maybe now we've weathered it, and now we'll start back on the upswing with already 15 units in the bag, so we could finish very strong for the remainder of the season, playoff, Super Bowl, all that stuff. And if you guys are interested, there is a prorated deal. If you want to ride out the rest of the NFL season with me, so that'll include obviously the regular season, the full playoffs, the Super Bowl. It'll include all my college football playoff picks and bowl games. We have 2 released already for those. There's going to be more to come. It'll also include all my college basketball, which we had a great season last year. We have one college basketball pick going tonight, actually. So all of that, basically, you get every pick that we send out, every report analysis that we release until the end of the Super Bowl for $99. That's linked down below in the description if you're interested in tailing us the rest of the way. I also am thinking about maybe dropping. There's a game that we already released for week 15. It may be upgraded to a max. If we do, our max plays all time 56 and 27, 67%. Really good hit rate. So but that is less than 100 of them over a 5-year span. So they're really rare. But we'll see if it gets there. Anyway, if it does, maybe I'll post a YouTube short or something, or I'll put something up so you guys can know on X or something like that. But all right, now let's get to week 15 of the NFL season. We're going to start off with Thursday Night Football. Falcons taking on the Buccaneers. And I'm going to try to give you guys a lot. I did a lot of digging this week since I'm posting on Wednesday. I usually try to get this up on Tuesday. Since it's Wednesday, I've had time to do a lot of digging. So I'll give you some trends as well with some of this stuff. But Falcons taking on the Buccaneers. Tampa -4.5 at home. 44.5 is the total. I'll give you my leans. I lean Atlanta in this one, and I lean under. I think they both currently, at the current numbers, both still have value on a Wednesday, according to my numbers, which is rare. Usually by now, the market has kind of fallen in line with where I am, but I make this 3. So I think Atlanta's very live in this game. I think they can win it outright. And one of the reasons I think that is the Buccaneers are just not good as home favorites. Their defense is trending down. Baker Mayfield is really struggling. He's trending down. And you saw that last week against the Saints, who I had the Saints. I was on them. They win out. I was shocked that they won outright, but you're just seeing a lot of the flaws this Tampa team has at being exposed. The Falcons, one thing they can do, I mean, after the Minnesota Vikings, they blitz at the second highest rate in the NFL. They're going to get pressure some way, somehow. And that's going to force Baker to do his thing, which early in the season was working very well for them. The scrambling, the running around, the broken plays. That takes a big toll on you. Wear and tear on the body of a quarterback, but also defenses kind of know that that's your thing now. And you have seen that become way less effective for Baker, especially dealing with nagging injuries. He's not as mobile. And you've seen it. The accuracy has gone down. The mobility has gone down. The efficiency, EPA, success rate, everything has gone down for the Tampa offense, trending down, even when getting some guys back. Like they got Bucky Irving back. And the defense is it's just okay. Now you're going up against Cousins, so it's not like it's a super scary opponent. But he did start against this team twice last season. Remember, it's not people act like Cousins hasn't been away for that long. He started last year twice against Tampa. He put up 30 points and then 36 points. So it's not crazy to think Atlanta could have some offensive success in this game. And they just got finished playing arguably the best defensive unit in the league, Seattle. It's either Seattle or Houston at the top. So that was a really tough matchup. They're going to get a little bit of an easier matchup here. Not sure about the status of London. I think he's still day to day. If he goes, that'll give them a boost. But I think even without him, Atlanta will be able to move the ball. Be able to take advantage of the Tampa defense, run the ball a little bit on them. And I think Tampa is going to have to, they're going to be dealing with pressure, I think, and a lot of blitzing from the Atlanta side. And it's going to basically come down to, can Baker generate those broken plays that go for chunk yardage? If he can do it, I just think either way, this is a close game, a close, low scoring game. I would take the points with Atlanta. Another angle that I like is their team total. I think it's 19 and a half when I saw it earlier in the week. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I would like Atlanta to get to 20 points. I think that's a good look as well. So basically for me here, per the numbers, everything's kind of pointing to the Falcons on a short week. And Tampa, for what it's worth, by the way, this season, the Buccaneers 1-4 ATS as a home favorite, with 4 of those losses being 3 outright losses. Saints, Patriots, and one more team beat them outright at home. Remember, they had that home game against the Jets where they didn't cover. They won but didn't cover. So they've not been good laying points at home, no less in a divisional game. Though their one cover as a home favorite, by the way, was against the 49ers, they were decimated with injuries at that time. They've gotten healthier since then. Decimated, and it was against Mac Jones. So just keep that in mind. All right, moving over to Sunday, the first game started in rotation order. We got the Cardinals taking on the Houston Texans. Houston minus 9.5, 42.5 the total. Definitely worth noting here that the Houston Texans totals are on a 24-4 run to the under. 4-0 this season to the under at home for the Houston Texans. When the total's between 40 and 50, that's what you have in this game here. And I just, listen, they've been playing great. Should they have won that game last week against Kansas City? Probably not. The post-game numbers say that the Chiefs should have won, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? At this point, the Texans are hot. They've won 5 games in a row. They look really good doing it. And Stroud is playing well. The defense is obviously lights out. I just don't see how Arizona, Brissett has been throwing the ball well, and he's going to be indoors. I think that helps a little bit. There are systems fitting the Cardinals if you're interested in that kind of thing, like underdogs off of a blowout loss at home. Then they go on the road. They're like 65% against the spread. So I personally would not be interested in laying these points with Houston. If anything, if this gets to a 10, I would look at Arizona catching 10. But I think your better side here is probably the under, or just including the Texans in a money line parlay or something like that if you really want to have action on them. But what do we always say? NFL stands for not for long. You've got long winning streaks going on. A 5-game win streak, eventually, something's going to happen. I would certainly be surprised if it happened this week. If Houston lost, I'd be surprised. But do I think they're 9.5 points? I don't think. I think this line's a bit rich for me. I've got this game at 8. So at 10, I think you could look to Arizona. But am I interested? Not really. I think you have much better opportunities on the board this week. Next game up, you've got the Raiders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, oh man, it's crunch time for the Eagles. It is pure desperation mode for Philly. They're laying 11 at home in this game. 38.5 is your total. Not much. I don't really know what to say. The Eagles, I had the under on Monday Night Football. They certainly helped me out. Both teams helped me out with all the turnovers. That game probably should have went over, but neither team could convert when they had opportunities. Lots of picks thrown. 5 turnovers for the Eagles against the Chargers. What do you do now this week? You're getting a very soft team. Man, it's hard for me to not say that this line, what would this line be if the Eagles were just normal right now? Not even that they're crushing opponents, but let's just say that they were relatively normal. They're not on a 3-game losing streak. This line would not be 11. Let's be real. The Raiders look like, if the Titans were not the Titans, the Raiders would be the next worst team. The Raiders are terrible. And it's not getting any better. Their offensive line is so bad going up against this Eagles pass rush now. I just don't see how the Raiders stay in this one. I know I'm not laying 11 with the Eagles, but just because of, I think the issues are deeper than on the field. Earlier in the season, I did not think that, but now I think it's pretty clear. There's bigger issues than just what's happening on the field. So not going to run to back them, but just worth noting that this line is certainly short. If you consider the talent, just the talent on the field and what the Eagles are capable of, it's a short line. The Raiders are going to sit in that zone. They're going to force them to dink it and dunk it down the field. Hurts is certainly capable of doing that. They looked better running the ball against the Chargers, but man, just too many mistakes, very sloppy play. And a 3-game losing streak now has the Cowboys knocking on the door in the NFC East. So the urgency here for Philly's got to be at an all-time high. Now, one thing that I can tell you is that when the Hurts as a big favorite at home has a great record straight up. They normally do not drop these games outright. Now, they did one this season. They did lose one this season to the Bears a couple weeks ago. That was recent. But aside from that, they usually win these games. So if there was ever a week where you would go for a 10-point teaser, a 3-team 10-point teaser, which is usually priced at minus 130, I think that's something you could look at this week because you've got Houston that you could use as a 10-point favorite. The Eagles, 11-point. You've got the Niners laying 12.5 to 13. What was the other one that was there? Anyway, but what I'm saying is that you've got several options here if you wanted to do the old 10-team teaser. Like if I was going to build a 10-team teaser, Jacksonville's the other one, I'd probably go Eagles down to -1, 49ers down to -2.5, Jaguars down to -2.5, which is the next game we'll talk about. If you do those three, you would expect those three teams to win. I know there's upsets. Upsets happen. But I will say upsets, double-digit dog upsets are way more common at home than they are on the road. And all three of these teams are on the road this week. So, I'm just giving you guys a way that I would play because I really don't like anything in this game, the Eagles-Raiders game. But if you just forced me, if you said, how would you play this game? If you want to have action on this game, maybe you're a fan of either team or something, I would go the route of teasing the Eagles down 10 points and pick two of the other huge favorites. There's 3 other huge favorites. You got Houston, Jax, San Francisco. I would pick 2 more of those and pair them all up, or do all 4. You get plus money if you do all 4. I don't think either of those 4 teams are losing. Next one up, you got the Jets taking on the Jaguars. Jags -12.5 at home with a total of 41.5. The big news here is who is going to be quarterback for the Jets. Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. Justin Fields did not get put in. You saw Brady Cook instead, old Missouri quarterback. He did not look good. Give him the benefit of the doubt, though, maybe a week of prep. I don't know. They haven't announced who their quarterback's going to be. And Aaron Glenn has not been willing to do that in previous weeks, give a heads up of who the quarterback. So I think you're just not going to know here, which is going to cause some uncertainty. Do I think it's going to matter? No. Now, I'm not going to lay this. No, I can't even get to this number, by the way. Let me get my ratings up. I've got Jacksonville -9 in the game, so I can't even get to 12.5. Pretty far off, actually. But depending on who comes in, that's me assuming Fields or Taylor, who I have rated pretty much. Fields a little worse. But if it's Brady Cook, you're going to have to obviously throw that way down. So, Jags win this game. I lean to the under in this game. They've been really good at home, by the way. I've had to upgrade the Jaguars in my power ratings. They've been good at home. Now, did they just come off of I'm not going to call it fluky at all because it wasn't fluky, but a fortunate win at home? Yeah, the other team uses their quarterback. A couple turnovers give you short fields where you take advantage of it and get points. Now, could I see a team like Jacksonville now coming out this week after securing first place in the division, beating the Colts? Could I see them now coming out this week and playing down to the Jets? Totally. I could totally see that happening. And this being a close game that has no business being close, I could see that happening. But do I want to bank on that happening? No. So I'm not involved in this game. It's a hard pass for me on both the side and total. All right, next game in the 1 p.m. window, you've got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Chicago Bears. Chicago -7.5, 39.5 for your total in this one. And I think this is a great spot to come back on Chicago after their loss last week. Their win streak ended. They lose to the Packers. But here's what I'll say. I was on the Packers in that game, and I thought that was a really solid bet. We look for those spots all season long. There was one in that same spot with the Ravens -6.5 against the Bears early in the season, right? We look for those spots all year long. But I thought in defeat, man, the Bears impressed me. The Bears played really well. And I'm not sold on them by any means. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I don't even think they're going to win the division. but I'm sold as now them being a solid above average team. And I think a lot of that, because I'm not a Caleb Williams fan, and I think that's still justified. He's not good. But I do think that they run the ball really well, and that you can attribute to Ben Johnson. So I think he's really showing the run schemes, the way he opens up those running lanes with the movement, the pre-snap movement, all that stuff. It's beautiful to watch. They run the ball so well, and that is their calling card. And they can do that in this game. So I really like this matchup for the Bears. The Browns just played a close, tight game with the Titans at home. Sanders looked good. He threw for a bunch of yardage, bunch of touchdowns, but it's against the Titans. All right. Do I think he's going to go on the road in Chicago and repeat that? Not a chance. I like the Bears. I would even lay the set. I'm teasing them down, but I would even lay the 7.5. If you could find a 7, obviously much better. But I make this 8.5. And I know the Cleveland defense is good, but it's way better at home. And even at home in the last game, they got torched by Cam Ward and the Titans and Tony Pollard on the ground, which is why I want to play this angle of the Bears rushing attack, which I think is legitimately a very good run game. I think their defense is just okay, but they've got a really good running game and a really good head coach. And I think that's good enough for you to beat up on bottom feeder teams like in this matchup where you're getting the Browns and you're coming off a loss. I don't think it's going to linger. They played really well, man. I really don't think it's going to linger. You beat the Eagles, then you go on the road, and you hang there. You're tied with the Packers with a few minutes left. Really, really impressive stuff from the Bears. I'm impressed over the last few weeks at their ascension. All right, next game up, you've got the Bills taking on the New England Patriots. This is basically a pick. Buffalo -1 at some shops, Pats -1 at other shops. 49.5 is the total. First thing that I looked at in this game was the total. I'm thinking to myself, why is it so high? You know, these teams played in Buffalo earlier in the season without bad weather, or without cold weather, I should say. And the game was 23-20. Now we have a 49.5. But you go back and watch that game, dive into the metrics, it's kind of obvious that why. Both teams moved the ball really well. Both teams had success rates north of 50%, but lots of field goals. There was some turnovers and lots of red zone drives that ended in field goals. That game probably should have went north of 50 points as well. But I want to play on the revenge spot in this game. So just to wrap that idea up, I lean over, but I also want to play on the Bills heavily here. I really, really love the Bills in this game. I want to give you guys the list of quarterbacks that the Patriots have beaten since they beat the Buffalo Bills. So if you remember, they played the Bills in week 5. Okay, after that game, and then that kind of started because remember the week before that they beat Carolina. All right, I'll give you all their wins this year. They beat Miami, so they beat Tua, they beat Carolina, they blew them out at home. Then they beat the Bills, and that's when everyone was like, whoa. Remember, because before that, we were like, they're just 2-2. They don't have any impressive wins. Then they beat the Bills, and we're like, wow, we got to start considering this team. Since they beat the Bills, they've beaten Spencer Rattler, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix by 1, Baker Mayfield during his struggling period here where he's playing awful, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco didn't cover, beat them by 6, and then Jackson Dart. There's not a single elite quarterback on that list that I just gave you. So if I've got a team riding this incredibly long winning streak, right? And now I get to fade them with Josh Allen, who is a top 3 quarterback, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I really like the Bills. And another thing to notice, the Patriots, their calling card early in the season was Drake May is going to kill you and they're going to stop the run, right? And Vrabel's got that defense playing tough. You know they're good in the back end with Christian Gonzalez, but the run D was really good. The run D has fallen off a cliff. Okay, last 6 weeks, 19th in rushing success rate on defense. Part of that is injuries, but they're trending down on that side of the ball. Buffalo's trending up on that side of the ball. They're running the ball on everybody, an elite rushing attack. You saw it against Pitt. You saw it again against the Bengals, even though they were struggling on defense in that game. Now there is a world where the Patriots, Drake May just keeps slinging it against his Buffalo team that struggled against Burrow last week. But I don't think I think they're going to button up this week. It's a divisional game on the road. It's a revenge spot. I'll give you my divisional revenge system, which is, where is it here? Road. So you got road divisional teams that are seeking revenge for a loss in the same season. 35 and 17 ATS, that's 67%. It's on by the way, it's on 3 games this week. So this is the first one. Buffalo's the first one. I really like the Bills. That's basically my handicap. The whole thing I just gave you. I love Buffalo in the spot. I don't even show a lot of value on the number. I make it about right where it is. I just think it's a great spot to jump on the Bills. So I'm going to be doing that. I like Buffalo in the game. All right, next one up, you've got the Ravens taking on the Bengals. Ravens minus 2.5, 51.5 is the total. Both of these teams coming off of ugly, ugly losses. Now, the Ravens loss was, I think, worse because, well, I can't really say it was right. They were both brutal. I mean, both teams should be coming off of wins, but they're coming off of losses. The Ravens post-game expectancy stats had them winning that game against the Steelers. I do think that Isaiah Likely catch was a touchdown in the end zone. It was ruled not a touchdown. There was tipped passes, drops, false starts, penalty, like all types of horrific stuff for the Baltimore Ravens, who, I mean, listen, the Steelers played better, but the Ravens should have won that game. And that was a really tough loss to swallow. Same thing with the Bengals. You go into Buffalo, you're lighting it up. You're torching the Bills on defense, and then suddenly you get a fluky tipped pick six, another tipped pick. Oh, just horrific stuff. If you're the Bengals should have won that game outright as a 6-point dog. So really, really tough spot to come back this week. But I think the one thing that I'll say here is, the Bengals are basically done. The Ravens still have life. Now, the Bengals are not fully 100% eliminated, but I mean, you're going to need a boatload of shit to happen. The Ravens still have life, obviously. Steelers are just a 3-point favorite against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are hot. They could lose that game. The Ravens have everything to play for here, and I make this line 3. So I see value on minus 2.5. And it's a revenge spot. I just gave you the system, the 67% system. It's also active on the Ravens because they lost to the Bengals. And just look at the Bengals' last 2 games, man. They come out of the bye. Or sorry, they get Burrow back healthy. Go into Baltimore. The defense looked great. They were forcing turnovers, pass rush. It was crazy. They get a big win, unexpected win. Burrow looks sharp. Then they go on the road to Buffalo. You still got Burrow. No problem. He's slinging it to Chase. He's slinging it to Higgins. But now you see the defense go back to exactly what they are. So that one game where the defense thrived against Baltimore, I think, was a fluke game, high variance game. But 5 turnovers, whatever it was. I don't think you get that again. This defensive unit is still bad. It's still not good. And you may not have T. Higgins for this game, who was clearly, I couldn't even believe he stayed. Now, I have him on fantasy, so I'm not complaining. But he did catch the touchdown that gave us the cover. But he should not have been in that game. He was clearly concussed. And I don't think he's going to play because of that. Because when you go back and watch, he was clearly playing concussed, which is, player safety, come on. I don't think he's going to play this week. So without Higgins, that offense is different. It really is. I know Jamar Chase is still great, but it is not the same when you don't have both of them. So I want to play against that. I want to play against the injuries. I want to play against the defense, and I want to play on the Ravens, who really their last 2 wins have just been in division, luck-based, ugly ways to lose. I think the Ravens are just due a good game. They're due a good game, and I show value on the line. I make this 3. I can't get to 2.5. I still got the Ravens as an above average team, and I still have the Bengals as a below average team, even with Burrow. So last week I liked their matchup against Buffalo. This week I don't like the matchup for them in division in a revenge spot. So give me the Ravens in that game. All right, Chargers taking on the Chiefs. Kansas City minus 4 to 4.5. 41.5 is the total. I wish I grabbed this under, guys. I looked at it last week and I was like, man, the Kansas City home unders, they're 5-0 this year. They're on a crazy 70-something% run last couple years. And the total was sitting at 44.5. And I was like, should I send it out? Should I thought about it a little bit more? Now it's 41.5. So I missed my chance there on a really, really good bet on the under in this game. I would not play it at 41.5. But it's just worth noting these games really tend to really go under. Listen, on paper, can I argue against the Chiefs in this spot? This is a great spot. Again, Liv's been doing this 2 weeks in a row. This is a great spot for the Chiefs. They beat the Colts, then they lose to the Cowboys, then they lose to the Texans. 2 games they arguably should have won. The Cowboys one you could argue because they played really well offensively. They punted it. So here's where we get to the problem with changing your skill. Against Dallas, they punted twice in Dallas territory, right? where they could have easily, I think, gotten points because they were moving the ball so well against them. I just think they should have went both times, and you would have gotten points. You probably would have won that game if you did. And also because you keep the Dallas offense off the field. Then you come home for Houston, 2 fourth downs in your own territory. Now suddenly in a tie game, they're going for it. So they're on the road in Dallas. You're punting in opponent territory. You come home against Houston. It's 10-10 in the fourth quarter. Now you're going for it on fourth down. It's just what's going on? Like, what is the mishmash? What is the confusion here? I just truly believe in that 10-10 game where Houston cannot move the ball at all. If they just punt, they're going to win the game. They they couldn't even get a yard against them in the second half, and Mahomes would eventually get you in field goal range. He'll find a way to do it. All they had to do was punt. It cost them a game and possibly the season. Now you come this week, it's another week of saying, man, they're in a great spot. They're in a great spot. They were in a great spot against the Colts. They won but didn't cover. They were in a good spot against the Cowboys. Lost. They were in a good spot against the Texans. Blew it. Now you're in a good spot against the Chargers. It's just not the Chiefs' year. I think the Chargers are coming off of a win in overtime, in dramatic fashion, a hard-fought game. Herbert's not 100% with the hand. Lots of reasons. Plenty I could go. It's a revenge game. They lost to them in week 1. And the Chiefs need it like blood. The season's on the line. I could give you a million reasons to back Kansas City, but no way I lay 4.5 with them. We can't. Why? Any of win they get, they win by 3, or they lose the game outright. It's just not, you cannot lay 4.5 with the Chiefs. No way, no how. If you want to throw them in a parlay, sure, but they blew a parlay for me on Sunday. So I'm just going to stay away, man. I just don't think it's the Chiefs' year. Now, could it suddenly turn? The minute that I stay away, could it suddenly turn and they look, yeah, of course. Sometimes that's what happens. But that's not how that's not how these things work. I have nothing to do with it, but anytime that the Chiefs have got me a couple good wins. They got me that win against the Colts, which I needed a win. They got me a max play winner this year against the Lions. That was way early in the season. So they've got me some wins this season, but they burned me against the Jaguars. They burned me against the Cowboys. Now they burned me against the Texans. I've had enough of the Kansas City love. I think they win this game. Could they cover? Sure. Is there any reason analytically, gambling wise, to bet on them? No, just let it play out and see what happens. Where I'm going to look, I'm going to let KC's season play out, and where I'm going to look to bet on them is if they make it. If they somehow get into the playoffs, I'll be all over them in some form or fashion because the AFC is weak and wide open. I think anybody they play, they can beat. But just right now, just let it play out. And by the way, I even show value. My line's 5.5, Kansas City minus 5.5, and I'm still not playing it. So. All right, next game up, you got the Commanders taking on the Giants. Giants -2 at home, 46.5 is the total. Can't really waste your time much with this game. No way would I touch it. I lean Giants, but teams we talked about last week, teams off of a blowout, off of a shutout loss are very good, north of 65%. That was the Vikings last week. Remember, they got shut out by the Seahawks, and they come home, they cover, so the system hits. Now the Commanders got shut out by the Vikings. They're going on the road to the divisional game. You're probably not going to have Daniels. Probably going to be Mariota again. Dart for the Giants, who have been, they've been okay. Why? Why would you? I lean Giants, but why would you in this game? I just don't think it's worth it at all. Colts taking on the Seahawks. Seahawks -13.5. 42.5 is the total. We don't know who's starting for the Colts. Is it Phillip Rivers? Is it Riley Leonard? Those are really your two, or I guess they have Brett Ripien on the roster. Really tough. I mean, I don't know. Listen, do I think it matters at this point? No. I think the Colts are completely dead. It is over. It is so over. They went all in for the trade for Sauce. They got 2 first-round picks. Even talked about at the time how it was a bad trade. It ends up being an even worse trade because Sauce gets hurt. Now you lose your quarterback. So the picks are going to be even better for the Jets. That was a steal for the Jets. They hosed them completely. Everything has gone wrong for Indy after their really hot start. We're talking about a team that was 8-2 that could now finish 8-9. That's how bad it looks right now for the Colts. And yeah, I just think the Seahawks roll in this game. So I'm going to throw the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks, out of all the big favorites, I think Seattle is your free leg of the week where you could throw them into any parlay and it's going to cash. They're going to win this game. I mean, no, there's no chance. And the Seahawks and the Colts are going to be demoralized. Even if you get Rivers, I mean, you got a 44-year-old Rivers against this. If he came back against the right team, maybe. Yeah, against this Seattle Seahawks defense, oh my gosh, it's going to be ugly. And if you get Riley Leonard, it's a rookie who is, I mean, I know he's a little mobile, but he's dealing with an injury now. Man, it's going to get ugly for the Colts. I think the Seahawks win this game by 20 plus. I'm not running to lay to I'm not laying to 13 and a half just because I just don't like to do that. But if this was still at where it opened at 11, I would lay it. I would lay no problem 11. I think they want to win the game by 2 touchdowns or more. Next one up, really great game between the Packers and Broncos. Green Bay -2.5 on the road in Denver. A total of 43 in this game. Obviously, the 43 is sitting at a key number. That is a key number when it comes to total. So you may want to look at the under in this game. Two very good defenses. I would say both are top 3, top 4 units for sure in the league. The one big advantage here, though, you have is quarterback. And I think you really have to consider that in this game. I know the Broncos are going to be appealing as a home dog, but they've won 10 games in a row. By the way, there was a great nugget from Evan Abrams, Action Network. Home underdogs on a 10-game winning streak or more. It's only happened one time in the last 20 years. It was in like 2005 or something. That's how rare this is. So when I see a spot that's that rare, I just want to stay away because I don't know what to expect. There's nothing really to tell us, nothing predictive. Now, quarterback is the big advantage. Jordan Love is playing. This is not my opinion, by the way. EPA, efficiency, he's at the top. He's at the top. He's better than Mahomes. He's better than Allen. He's better than Darnold. Like, he's at the top of the NFL. So he's playing really, really well, even without Kraft, who I thought once they lost Kraft, I was going to really hit their offense. It hasn't much yet. Denver, obviously a great defense. They're going to get up. This is like a potential Super Bowl preview. It's crazy to say, but you could easily have Broncos Packers in the Super Bowl. So this is going to be a great game. The obvious look here would be teasing Denver up to 8.5. I do think that's solid, although I like Green Bay. My problem with this game is I like Green Bay because I don't think the Broncos are as good as their 10-game winning streak. No denying that they are good. They're a good team. But I think Green Bay's better. I agree. Green Bay travels really well. LaFleur has a stellar record against the spread in the winter months. This is just a cold weather team. They love this. So I like them. But the problem is my power ratings. I can't get to 2.5. And usually when I like a bet, like on the surface, I usually can look at my power ratings and find some value. But I have this pick. So I have Denver and Green Bay just pick. But you're getting 2.5. So from a mathematical perspective, I would just tell you that teasing Denver up to 8.5 is probably the best option. Personally, I lean Packers. I think they'll be able to run the ball on them. I think Jordan Love can make timely throws. One thing about, I know a lot of people say like Jordan Love, yeah, the EPA metrics or everything shows that he's so good, but when you watch them, they're just not explosive. They're not true. I agree. I get that. Sometimes the eye test is a little weird, but his accuracy is so good. He's got like pinpoint accuracy, and I think that really helps them turn because their receivers are not like elite group of receivers. They're not getting like insane separation, but he's so accurate that it almost doesn't matter. He rarely throws a ball that he throws a lot of balls that only his receivers can catch, and I think that's really beneficial to the way they play, to the way their offense is. So I like Green Bay. I think you've got the quarterback edge there. The defenses, I think, are pretty much a wash. But I like the pack. Like I said, no value on my numbers, so I can't tell you that I'm confident. But I just personally lean Green Bay in the game. NFC South divisional matchup. The Panthers are laying 2.5 on the road in New Orleans with a total of 40.5. This is a spot I want to get in front of. I want to get in front of the Saints. Why? Because bottom 3 team, or let's say bottom 5 teams, I'll call it. And I'm going to start, and this is anecdotal, but I'll give you some numbers too. Bottom 5 teams, listen, they don't win 2 games in a row. You got the Saints coming off of a win as an 8-point dog outright on the road in Tampa. Now you come home and you're expecting a much more competitive game against a team you already beat. You beat the Panthers in Carolina. I think this is a great spot to back the Panthers out of the bye week. And also, the Panthers have many outright wins this season, but most recently, the big one, when they upset the Packers as massive dogs and then came home and then drop that game to the Saints, okay, as a favorite, a 5-point favorite at home. Then they upset the Rams as a 10-point home dog, then go into their bye week. With those 3 games happening like that in that order, how do you not emphasize all week long the bye week? The letdown cannot be there. I think getting the bye at that time was perfect because it's like you have time to reset. If they were coming off of the Rams upset and directly into the next week, I wouldn't be so confident about this bet. But I love the bye week in between for them. And they already fell into this trap once. You upset the Packers, you came home and laid an egg against the Saints. Now you upset the Rams, but you get the bye in between to remind yourself that you can't do that again. And the division's on the line. Tampa just lost. That was a massive win by the Saints for Carolina's divisional chances. You're 7-6. You have everything to play for right now against a team that has nothing to play for and just pulled off a huge upset. And the same road divisional revenge system I gave you guys on the Bills and on the Ravens, 67%, also active on the Panthers in this game. So I really like Carolina. And I love whenever I see these teams, these bottom 3 teams, Raiders haven't won it forever, but Raiders, Saints, Titans, whenever these teams win a game outright, I want to jump right in front of them next week. It's very, very profitable to do so. So I like the Panthers. I use them in a parlay. I would also play them -2.5. I think they're going to be able to have a really good game against the Saints. All right. The 4 p.m. window's loaded this week. We got the Rams taking on the Lions. LA -5.5 at home, 54.5 is the total. Obviously expecting another shootout here, the way you saw with the Lions and Cowboys on Thursday night last week. Extended rest for the Lions in this one. I'm a little torn on this game because I think the Brian Branch injury in the secondary is huge for Detroit. I really think it's huge. On a secondary that's already a little bit banged up, they're not playing well on defense. They're even in a win against the Cowboys, Dallas moved the ball. They put up a ton of yardage on them. They put up a lot of points on them. It's concern. Yeah, I mean that took a huge offensive effort at home, a huge Gibbs game. The Rams defense is very good. I think I think the Rams have too many like my numbers say bet Detroit at 6, I would say. If you get there are a couple 6s out there. If you get a 6, my numbers say Lions +6. But the Rams have every advantage in this game. I mean, you got quarterback, better defense, arguably better offensive. Probably maybe a wash, but without Laporta, I'd say they have better overall offensive weapons. Better head coach, home field advantage. I mean, there's just too much. I don't know. I would like the Rams to lose. I have 49ers futures for the division. I just don't, I'm torn. I'm torn here between my numbers, but everything that I look at matchup wise, situational, says Rams. I think the one thing that I'm sure about is that we get points. The problem is the market knows that, and that's why you've got 54.5 to 55 in this game across the board. I just really don't see with Puka, Devontae, with how Stafford's throwing the ball right now, playing MVP level. How does the Detroit secondary hold up? They love to play man coverage. This is not a game to do that. This is going to, I could see this getting ugly, which is why I'm going to stay away. But my numbers do make this 4 to 4.5. So at 6, maybe a little value on Detroit, but I'm not running to bet it. Should be a really good game, though. Titans taking on the 49ers. 49ers -12.5. We're now seeing 13s pop up. This is a game that I jumped on as well. 44.5 is the total. I really like the Niners in this spot. And I'm going to be playing against some trends here because I know the Niners historically are not good as home chalk. I don't think it's going to matter this week. I want to get in front of, like I just said about the Saints, I want to get in front of these teams, these bottom 3 teams that win outright in the prior week. The Titans got their second win of the season. Think about that. They are 2-11. Their second win of the season last week outright against the Browns, of course. It means the Browns. So these bottom 5 teams, when they get a win, let's just look at the Titans. The Titans, after their last 10 outright wins, they're 0-10 against the spread in the following week. The Niners getting healthier out of the bye. This defense, which has dealt with injuries all year long, is still playing very well, thanks to Saleh. Robert Saleh is doing an unbelievable job with this team, and now they're going to get healthier and more time to prep against a rookie quarterback that doesn't have is very limited with weapons. Man, I love this spot for the Niners. I think Salah's going to give them hell. I think they're going to be able to get some pressure. They're not great at getting pressure, but I think they'll scheme ways to get pressure, stop the run with Pollard. And that's a big thing with the Titans. If he can't get going, there's nothing. They can't really do anything. And on the other side, the offense is as healthy as it's going to be. No one else is coming back. Got Kittle out there. You've got, I mean, that's basically it. CMC, Purdy's playing really well. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. I mean, they just gave up 30 points to Shador Sanders, the Titans defense. I think the Niners are going to roll in this game and win this one by 20 points plus. I laid 12.5 in this game. So if you guys are interested, I'm starting to see the 13s pop up. I make it over 13, so I like it a lot. But I'm mainly playing against the Titans in this game. With that, and I love that the Niners are coming out of the bye. Shanahan with extended rest. He's always been really good in those spots. But yeah, definitely want to get in front of these teams that are bottom 5 teams like a Cleveland, Tennessee, Las Vegas, New Orleans. These teams that pull off outright wins. You saw it with the Jets, too, by the way. Jets are a bottom 5 team. They beat the Falcons, then they get destroyed by the Dolphins. They rarely pull off back-to-back wins, especially when they're playing a competent opponent the following week. So keep that in mind. All right, Vikings taking on the Cowboys is your Sunday night football game. Dallas -6. We're now seeing 5.5s. 47.5 is a total. Maybe the market thinks that JJ McCarthy has figured things out. I don't think so. I think that was against the Washington defense that was just totally checked out of that game last week. And they got shut out on offense. They were coming off of that overtime loss by 1 point against Denver. That was an all-out effort at home after the bye. The defense was on the field so much. And then they had to get back up in Minnesota against a really good Minnesota defense. And it just wasn't there. It wasn't happening. Do I now think JJ McCarthy's good? No chance. No way in hell. The Dallas defense, I think, is still a little bit overrated. They're not a great unit to me. But I think they can do enough here on the road to disrupt him, get some pressure. That's the one thing they can do is get pressure. Quinnen Williams in the middle there should wreak havoc against this offensive line. And listen, the Minnesota pass defense, it is very good. But I'm going to trust the Cowboys at home in this game. I like them to win. I would lay the 5.5, and I like them in teasers, money line parlays, whatever way you want to play it. I make this line 6.5. So I am a little surprised that the 6 went to 5.5. I would expect that this gets back to 6 and more. So if you are interested in the Cowboys, I would lay 5.5. I don't think you're getting 5 in this game because all my numbers say that this should be going the other way, not coming down. Obviously the CeeDee Lamb injury, you may be without CeeDee Lamb. I don't think it's going to matter. I really just don't think it's going to matter. And again, these below average teams, Minnesota's not quite a bottom 5 team, but these below average teams right after they get a win, man, they're such fade material the following week. And I could see that with the Vikings, especially off of a shutout win. When you have a shutout, you want to buy the team coming off of the shutout loss, and you want to sell the team coming off of the shutout win. Tried and true 30 plus years of data that tell you both of those are profitable. So fade the team that just won off of the shutout and buy the team that just lost off the shutout. In this case, fade the Vikings this week. I do like the Cowboys in that game. Your Monday Night Football game is the Dolphins in Pittsburgh, catching 3.5 points against the Steelers with a total of 42 in this game. Not much on this one. I do think the Dolphins are a live dog. If you asked me to give you my live dogs for the week, this would be right there at the top of the list. But it's mainly a sell on Pittsburgh, who should not have won that game last week against the Steelers. Last time they were at home, got embarrassed by the Bills. This is not a good team. I know their record states otherwise. I know they're atop the division. They're not a good team. So I could see the Dolphins coming in there, running the ball on them really well, playing just good enough defensively, and coming out of there with a win. I could see it. I know you're going to hear cold weather Tua, right? One thing that I'm noticing about the Dolphins, now they've won 5 out of the last 6 games. They've got the number 1 rushing defense during that stretch. I got to give Mike McDaniel a ton of credit. I thought he had lost the team early in the season. They're playing for him now. They're playing hard. They've got a chance to get a wild card spot. Ton of credit. Give him his flowers. He's turned the season around, and he deserves a lot of credit, and he'll probably end up keeping his job there. They're running the ball well. They're defending the run well. 2 things that if you can do in the NFL, if you can win in the trenches on both sides, you're going to be in games. So I like Miami plus 3.5. I think they can win the game outright, and Pitt has been so up and down. They play a good game, they win a good game, they pull off an upset, come home, lay an egg. Back and forth we go. This has happened for years like this with Tomlin and the Steelers. So I would not be surprised at all if that happens again. And the cold weather note that I was saying, 2 end cold weather is the thing where he's like really bad in really cold temperatures. I've noticed that this year, it has not been as big of a factor. Why? Because of what I just said. They're running the ball really well. Run game plays in bad weather, cold weather. It works in these spots, and they're way less reliant on Tua than they were in previous years. When they had Tyreek Hill, Tua's got to make those deep balls work with the wind and the cold. It's not as effective. Now, it's much different in the passing game, shorter, and rely on Ashan in the running game has made the Dolphins and the way they can defend the run has made them a better team in these outdoor cold games. So I think there's some sneaky value here that maybe the market's not capturing. I like Miami in the game. I think out of all the dogs this week, even the ones that are like 2 point dogs, I think this Miami plus 3.5 is the best dog of the week, in my opinion. So that's your Monday Night Football game. All right, guys, that's week 15. Like I said, 6 plays released for me. Prorated price for the rest of the season is down in the description. I will be back later on in the week to do a wrap-up show. Keep an eye out for shorts also. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll probably have a short today breaking down 3 of my favorite spots for the week. So make sure you check that out. And thanks as always for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.